Okay. Hello and welcome back to Rediscovering You, episode 83. Today, I am so excited to introduce to you my special guest. His name is Deepak Chari. Deepak helps women and men release hidden emotional blocks from stress, anxiety, and past emotional experiences with an advanced voice biofeedback technology so that they can feel calm, confident, empowered, and free. He is the co-founder of the Chari Center of Health, an engineer and certified biofeedback specialist, and the creator of his life transformation technology program with advanced voice biofeedback to promote emotional healing, mental clarity, and peak performance. Deepak Chari, welcome to the show. I am so excited to have you here today.
Thank you for inviting me, Laura. It's a
Thank
pleasure to be
you.
here.
I'm just going to jump right in it. I'm new to this technology that you're going to speak about today, and I'm hoping that we can start out with somebody who is just listening and never heard of voice biofeedback before. How would you explain what you do and how it works?
Well, what I call advanced voice biofeedback is actually kind of a new kind of technology which people may not be familiar of. They might be familiar and heard of biofeedback, which originated in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And that involves basically like if measuring a person's pulse and heart rate and breathing and basically showing them images that may be relaxing to them. So if they were stressed, for example, and they're seeing something that's calming, then their heart rate and breathing and everything will slow down, and it'll measure that like a biofeedback, what their new response is, and then they'll be calmer. So that's the original kind of biofeedback. But this is the next generation, if you want to say Star Trek, or the next evolvement of where that started. And I called it, and there's actually not this new name, Advanced Voice Biofeedback Technology, because what this does is it's a two-way it's a biocommunication. It's actually a two-way communication. It's the next generation of it, and it focuses on the voice. There's no wires or anything like that, like in conventional biofeedback either. It's just the voice. And you might wonder, well, why do I use the voice? I use the voice to hear someone's patterns from their subconscious mind, the limiting beliefs, fears, worries, doubts, guilt, shame, regret, phobias, emotional traumas. Your voice is the most accurate reflection of your subconscious mind, which is running your life. And so that's why I use the voice, because it'll tell things that you may be feeling, but it'll also share with me things that you're not even aware that you're feeling at a deeper level. And then I'll be able to send you frequencies and harmonics of sound and different patterns of frequencies to release those limiting patterns regardless of how long you've had them. So that's why I do that. And then your voice will become something like you'll have a voice like you've never had before once you go through this process, which I'll talk about shortly. So that's what I would call advanced voice biofeedback compared to regular biofeedback.
That's incredible. And this is new learning and new information for me when you say that the voice is a reflection of your subconscious mind, but it actually makes so much sense now that you say that. Can you talk a little bit more about what your process looks like when you say you use the qualities of someone's voice? Is it just the human ear listening? Is there a certain technology that you use? How does that work?
That's a great question. So when I'm doing a session with someone, it's all remotely because I've worked remotely with people all over the US and many countries around the world. Basically, it's done through the computer with an app installed on their computer. They have a headset with a swing down mic, and I have them talk about the emotional challenge they're going through. And I record their voice in like 15 to 20-second packets of information, of data. And I create what are called computerized voice maps, which are like emotional heat maps of their voice. So I'm listening to the words they're saying, but more importantly to the emotion within the words.
Mm.
So when I create an emotional heat map or voice map of their voice, it's telling what they're really feeling at the core, the intensity of the emotion, and even where they're holding it in their body. So then I will know, based on my analysis of these voice maps, which frequencies, harmonics, and advanced scalar wave technologies to send to them to release those limiting patterns. And this is done while their eyes are closed, listening to certain kinds of music that I will have them listen to, but sending them frequencies into their hand, which goes into every cell of their body to resonate every cell to perfect harmony, to literally move out those limiting patterns that are stored in their cellular memory.
That's incredible. And I think it's so interesting that you can send the frequencies in through a participant's hand. because I think a lot of people are hung up on we only take in sound through our ears, which is actually not true. So I love that you brought that up. Can you talk a little bit more about just how humans take in sound through their whole bodies and not just their ears?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because we're all connected in every way, shape, and form. The hand is a hand. When I say hand, I'm referring to hand chakra, which means hand energy center. And everyone talks about, well, we have seven chakras, seven energy centers. And that's true. And the hand is probably not mentioned as one of them. But it is an energy center. That's a channel that leads to every cell of the body. That's why someone can look at the hand and kind of tell everything going on in a person. It's just a reflection of that. So I'm not actually sending sound, but I'm sending frequencies into their hand. And those frequencies go into the hand energy center, but go through the entire body through the hand and resonate every cell in the body. There's no vibration or anything. It's a frequency that's very subtle, but it's very resonant. And your voice is a reflection of your subconscious mind. And for your viewers and listeners, your subconscious mind, I have found, is about 95 to 99% of your whole mind. So you have a whole mind, it has a conscious mind and a subconscious mind, but 95 to 99% is the subconscious mind running the show. The remaining 1% I talk about is the one that does the grocery list, my to-do list, what are my goals for the future. But thank God our conscious mind is not running our body and all our organs and heart rate and breathing. Because if we forget things on our to-do list, but if we forget things on our to-do list for our body in the sequence that they need to work, and we only have one shot to get it right. And
Mhm.
fortunately, our subconscious takes care of that. But the trade-off is the subconscious stores every thought, feeling, emotion, and expression and memory we've had since the time we were born. And even if we don't remember that, and of course, a lot of us won't remember that, it's still in there. Not only in every minute, but every fraction of a second, every thought, feeling, sight, sound, and emotion in every quadrillionth of a second is stored in your cellular memory. So if something heavy happened or traumatic in your childhood, it'll be that an emotion is stored in your cellular memory, even if you don't remember it. And what happens is that things build on top of that and on top of that, and it gets layered and layered and layered. And before you know it, you start reacting and getting triggered by certain things, and you don't know why you're reacting to things like that. And then you start projecting that energy and drawing situations into your life that match that unresolved energy within yourself. And you wonder where it's coming from. Believe it or not, it's coming from us. And so, which is hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. But once you understand that, then you can also understand by harmonizing your internal environment, you can also resonate that and turn that all around and start drawing wonderful events and situations and even feelings into your life.
Incredible. I love all of this. This is fantastic. So a lot of my listeners that follow the Rediscovering You podcast are people that have tried therapies. They've tried many different modalities to kind of unstuck themselves from different aspects of their life, whether they are having an emotional block or relationship problems or even professional sorts of problems. They're stuck and what they've tried hasn't worked. I'm wondering if you have similar sorts of patients that come to you that might have tried other things that haven't worked and they're like, I don't know what else to do.
That actually, Laura, is a very, very common thing. Many people have tried many, not only one, but many different modalities. And they said, I tried this and this and this and this, and they didn't work for me. So will this work for me? And I said, well, this is when you're starting with me, regardless of what you've done before, we're starting on a clean slate. I look at everyone, whether you've done tons of things or nothing, I look at you the same way because this is a totally new kind of quantum technology. I've been doing this for 20 years though, but it gets to the root. And so we're just starting on a clean slate. So don't worry about what you did before. Just let's start on a clean slate and let's start from the beginning. And when I say from the beginning, I mean from their childhood, because that's where all these patterns started. You see, I have found, Laura, that there's four phases that we all go through after and researching this for a while. The first phase is when your parents decide to procreate you. I'm being very direct and blunt here. In the moment of them procreating you, every thought and feeling in their emotion up to that current moment, including in that moment, goes into the mix. So let's say, for example, the dad is saying, I'm not happy in my life, job-wise, career-wise, where I am. I'm not totally happy in the relationship I'm in either, whether it's a girlfriend or was that wife at that time. And I had a lot of trauma in my life, which I never got cleared before I got in this relationship. And in that moment, maybe they were distracted and not really fully there. I'm just being
Mhm.
open here. So all of that goes into the mix, into this us as a child. We have nothing on our hard drive, like a brand new computer, but that's in the energy field a certain percentage from dad.
Mm-hmm.
But the same from mom too. Maybe she was also unhappy with the father or she, in her life and other things, and guilt, shame, regret. Those also go into the mix. Now, they're already in your energy field. But I found not only that, Laura, also the unresolved emotional beliefs and perceptions of your grandparents on your mom's and dad's side,
Wow.
meaning your mom's mom, mom's dad, dad's dad, dad's mom. And if you're adopted, which I also work with so many adopted people, you have the biological parents and the ones who raised you, both affecting you. So all these things have a huge impact. Now, some people say to me, Deepak, my grandparents died before I was born or when I was very young, so I don't really remember them, so I don't see how the grandparents fit in. But I actually measure their actual imprints and quantify it in the first half hour of the first hour and a half session and show them on a voice map analysis that in fact the grandparents did have a huge effect. Well, sometimes they have a huge effect, like they might have got 80% download from their mother's mother, 90% download from their father's father, who they didn't even know at all. And those patterns and characteristics and even personality traits are in that person, and they didn't even know they're acting like them or doing the same behavior as them. Because if the grandparents didn't resolve the issue they had, let's say they had severe depression, alcoholism, addiction, or they had a lot of abuse in their life, they didn't resolve it. So that carries down the next generation. So you're getting it from both your parents and grandparents. So that's already in the mix in phase one. So then what's phase two, right? Phase two is when you're in your mom's womb for 9 months. Whatever your mom is thinking, feeling, regretting, guilt, shame, I'm not happy in the relationship with your
Mm-hmm.
father. I wanted to be a jet setter, model around the world, and now I'm having this kid. I didn't expect that. I didn't even want this kid. What do you
Mm-hmm.
think the message goes down to the kid? I wasn't wanted. You know, all that kind of thing. And so, and then if the parents are fighting on top of that, which happens a lot, the
Mm-hmm.
kid's in the middle going, hey, I can hear all this, by the way. And so it's going into the kid. So phase two. Then phase three, you're born into the world. And when you're born into the world, you say, hey, I'm born. But your parents are putting their belief systems on you. Like, I wish you was a little taller. You know, I wish you were a little more talented like our other family members. You know that girl across the street? Look how talented she is. Look how pretty she is. Look how tall, how she's walking. Can't you be like that? You know, you didn't get that from our side of the family, did you? I mean, I know this sounds horrible, but these are actual things people have said, okay, to their kids, because I worked on them when they were adults. And so, or one parent told the son, I don't think you're going to be much more than a ditch digger in your whole life.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
But so this goes into into their subconscious. That's phase three, especially from I found 0 to 8, 0 to 7. Whatever is said, I found from 0 to 7, a lot of documentation behind this, goes right in, no questioning,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how crazy it is. And then from 8 to 12, you question a little bit, but you say, yeah, that's probably true. I'm not worthy of it, love or anything. And if your parents didn't know even how to give you love, then you don't know how, and you don't even know what love is. That's why you tend to draw relationships which they don't know how to show you love either. So all of this goes in the mix. That's three phases. So then what's four? There's four phases I talked about. The fourth phase is when you duplicate phase one, two, and three into your own life. You create those same situations your grandparents did in their life, your parents did in their life. Now you do it in your own life, and then you do it into your kids' lives. And guess what? Your kids do that too, and on and on. So that's why when I created this program, I call it my Life Transformation Technology Program, it will clear those four phases I talked about. So you're literally like a plane, like a rocket ship flying out of that repeating pattern over
Wow.
and over again. And you're creating a whole new reality that was never there before with all the wisdom of the ancestors.
I love what your work is. This is incredible because it sounds like you are able to address not only your client's lifetime of trauma, pain, but generations of their ancestors' trauma, pain, experiences. That's incredible. And that must produce such lasting, profound results for the people that you work with that I'm guessing they probably didn't even realize they were holding on to such of the weight of what you're uncovering because it's before their lifetime or while they were in the womb and in their subconscious. So
Exactly right.
powerful.
Exactly right. And thank you.
So powerful. So, can I ask just from a practical standpoint, how long does this transformation take for a typical client that you work with?
Okay, that's a great question. Well, the thing is, everybody is a different person and how they internalize emotions. And that's
Mhm.
because of how they're raised, right? Were they raised in a loving, nurturing environment? Or they raised in a, oh, I'm walking on eggshells. I got to be perfect all the time. Do not speak until I speak to you. Remember,
Mhm.
what kind of environment was that? That affects a lot how the person responds to things, including their immune system. So that has a big impact on. But what I do is, in general, I start out with the baseline of 9 sessions to
Okay.
be more open about it. Because the thing is, when I start out the sessions, the first thing we want to do is clear out the imprints from both parents, your
Mhm.
mom and your dad. You can choose which one you want to start with. It generally takes, let's say, two or generally more sessions to clear the imprints you picked up from each parent. And unfortunately, if there was abuse and other stuff like that, which sometimes there is, it will take more than the baseline. But we'll just do an average range.
Yeah.
Let's say we did two for each parent, it could be three. So that's 4 or 5. And then we want to clear the traumas from the childhood events.
Mhm.
Everyone has had trauma from childhood events, no exception. That's what led them to that place they were at. So we got to clear those individual issues in their childhood where there was traumatic issues that we wanted to clear. In my case, I was bullied. That's why I created this whole program. I was trying to find an escape out of that. I
Mhm.
can share that if you like how I got into this. So we clear the childhood events. And then we go to where are you now? What's going on in your life now that's troubling you? What challenges, upsets are you having? We take care of that. And then we go to the relationships they were currently in or were maybe just ended and the relationships they had before. All those relationships carry baggage that if we don't clear, will project into the future. Even if they think that Deepak, I'm done with that relationship, so that ship has sailed. I'm not going to go back to that. You are correct, but that ship, internal parts of the ship, is inside you
Mhm.
emotionally. So you're carrying the ship forward. So we got to clear that out. And then once we clear all that out, now we can go into the grandparents and clear the imprints they picked up from the grandparents. And some people say to me, when we get to that level, it might be session 14 or we don't know, where it is at that time. But remember, we're clearing things in a fraction of the time it took them to get them in their whole lifetime. They might say, Deepak, my grandparents all died before I was born, or I
Mhm.
knew one of them. So I don't think we even need to do that part. We're good on that. I'll say, well, you picked up like 80% of your belief system and your self-sabotage pattern from them. Your life is reflecting that. So yeah, we do need to cover it. But they died before I was born, Deepak. I don't know anything about them. I said, yes, but your subconscious knows everything about them. Even though they didn't know anything about them, we can still clear the imprints from them. Because it's interesting, like when I take them to an altered state of consciousness, which is necessary for me to create these voice maps of their parents and grandparents and ancestors, even if they didn't know anything about their grandparents, you might find that your listeners and you may find this interesting. They'll say, okay, I'll say, tell me about your father's father. Well, they all died before I was born. I said, I know. Tell me about your father's father. Do you remember a picture of what he looked like? Well, yeah, he had this beard and he was tall. And I said, okay, just say that. Then they describe him. They don't know anything else about him. And it'll create a very specific emotional voice map. It might show rage, or it might show deep sadness, or it might show unworthiness. It'll show something or other. Then I'll say, talk about your mother's mother, who they didn't know. I don't even have a picture of her. I have nothing about her. I'll
Mhm.
say, then I want you to say this. Say, I don't know anything about my mother's mother, and keep repeating that. I say, what? I say, but I want you to imagine you're seeing a visual of your mom here, and next to her is a shadowy figure, and imagine that's your mother's mother. Put your attention on that shadowy figure. Okay, whatever you say, Deepak. So they say, I don't know anything about my mother's mother. And focusing on that image, I said, it'll show a very distinct pattern. Boom, boom, like on the
Mhm.
strength of the emotion. And they're talking in a, I don't know anything about my mother's mother. I don't know anything in that tone. Nobody will know by that, but I will. So it's interesting how they don't know anything about it, but their subconscious knows everything, isn't it?
It is amazing that you can do that and that you can visually see the emotional impact that's underneath the surface. There's so much living in our subconscious, and like this is just a really amazing, tangible way that you can see yourself and point out to the people that you're working with that there really is so much there to work with and to uncover. Wow, I have to
Absolutely.
imagine that this has got to be mind-blowing it's mind-blowing for me
It
listening
is.
to it. It must be mind-blowing for the people that you work with.
It
Wow.
is. It is totally
Yeah.
mind blowing to them. And even to me, every time, even though I've been doing this for 20 years, I'm just as passionate as when I did my first client, as when I did, several, maybe 1,000 later, because I know that person's life's going to change in a way
Yeah.
that just in amazing. So I'm excited for them just as they are. too.
So you mentioned your own personal journey. I'd love for you
Yeah.
to share if you're comfortable with that. What
Oh, totally.
inspired you to this work? How did you end up doing what you're doing?
Absolutely. So my father was an engineer. So I
Mhm.
said, okay, I'll be an engineer, you know. They came to this country in the early 60s, and I was a first generation kid born to them. So when I was growing up as a kid, I was bullied. I was kind
Mhm.
of pushed around and, intimidated and all that kind of thing. So my escape was the library. I would hide in the library till it was safe to come out. This was wrong when I was eight or, 7, 8, and older. So when I was there, I'm like, I gotta do something here. Let me grab some books from the shelf. I grabbed whatever book I could. And I didn't know what these books are, but they were happened to be on the law of attraction. I happened to be in that aisle hiding in that particular aisle. So they were on the law of attraction, Napoleon Hill, W. Clement Stone, As a Man Thinketh, all those books, Think and Grow Rich. I didn't, I was just reading. I was like, oh, this is really amazing stuff. I also read books on trying to build up my confidence since I had zero confidence in myself and low self-esteem, low self-worth. So then I'd feel more confident to go out and face the world, so to speak, when I went from the library. So over the years, I ended up reading tons of these books and it started going in my subconscious. I didn't realize I was imprinting it at the time. So fast forward, I went through challenging bullying moments throughout my whole elementary school, junior high, high school. And so then, in high school it shifted to, well, we have this group. You don't fit in. You don't fit in that one, that one, that one. So you have your own group. So I was alone. So once I graduated from high school, I thought, okay, this bullying thing will end because this is a childhood pattern, I guess. But it continued. Then I drew bullying professors, bullying bosses, supervisors when I went to college, bosses, supervisors. I worked part-time in jobs, relationships that were bullying,
Mhm.
and friends that were narcissistic, condescending, manipulative, controlling, horrible. But I
Mhm.
thought, well, I'll take whatever friends I can get. So I kept drawing all these things. I would leave some of those horrible jobs I had with horrible bosses, get another job hundreds of miles away, and they would be exactly the same. They looked different, but they were exactly the same. Then I kept thinking, gosh, no matter where I go, I seem to be drawing this bullying pattern. I don't know what the deal is, but I guess I have to accept these horrible friends and horrible everything because that's how life is, I guess. That's what I thought. So fast forward, my sister and I, in 1999 in San Diego, created the Chari Center of Health, which is an integrative functional medical center where we go to the root causes versus the symptoms using a natural approach for healing. So, and the reason we even did that is because when we were teenagers, our father at the age of 51 suddenly died of a massive heart attack. And I was every day giving him his pharmaceutical pills for his high blood pressure. Did everything the doctor said I did. And then my mom was left a young widow. And then my sister and I were stunned and we looked at each other and we said, how did this happen? Why did this happen? And how can we prevent this from happening to anyone else?
Mhm.
There must be something we can do when we grow up. Fast forward, that's what we did in 1989 from the Chari Center of Health. So my sister started primarily healing women, but men too, of all kinds of conditions, medical conditions, in a natural approach and got great success. So I was working as an engineer in the field, right? And I saw all the people she was healing, and I thought, I would like to shift from this left brain engineering, improving productivity and efficiency in companies, which was okay, but seeing how she transformed lives seemed more inspiring to me. Then I said, okay, this is great. I can work in our own center, but wait a minute, I can't. I don't have a medical degree. I only have an engineering degree, a master's degree even. How am I going to do that? So this is where law of attraction came in. I said, universe, can you please help me to work in our center to heal people in some way? I
Mhm.
don't have a medical degree. I don't have an engineering degree, but can you help me with my background to somehow heal people? And then I just let it go. And I kept working in the field. 2 weeks later, some friends came up to me and said, Deepak, this guy's going to be speaking in Santa Monica, California. We were living in San Diego, California at the time, about how your voice reflects all of your limiting emotions, negative thoughts, negative emotions, and limiting beliefs. But most importantly, how certain harmonics and frequencies of sound could be sent to that person to release those limiting patterns, regardless of how long they've had them, liberate them to peace, happiness, and joy. I go, okay, I'll attend that.
Yeah.
So I went there, and as I was listening to him present, these bulbs went on in my head. Wait a minute, this is there's some technical base to this, which I deal with all the time. Bing! But then the other light bulb went on that, wait a minute, could this clear this bullying pattern that I've had my whole life? I don't know. Really? Can it? But maybe it can. So I went up to him and I said, could I apprentice with you? Could you train me on this modality of using, because he invented the software for the technology. And then he says, okay, I'm only going to do 5 people and I'm not doing any more than that. Because he had these health conditions I didn't know about. And later on, he stopped even doing it altogether. But I was in the right place at the right
Hmm.
time. So I was trained in it. He monitored me as I healed people of depression and anxiety and all kinds of issues. So he goes, I think you got it. I said, great. So then I said, you know what? Maybe I can optimize some things he taught me because the engineering degree, see, everything came in place. Maybe I smoothen this, shorten this, make this better. And it's cut the time down and got the faster results. So I said, this is great. Maybe I should work on myself next. So I worked on myself first. I said, can I clear this bullying pattern? Is it like the movie The Matrix, like Neo and
Yeah.
Morpheus? If your viewers and listeners know about the movie, guess what? After clearing it, I felt a sense of peace and release. And then suddenly, those horrible friends I had suddenly didn't want to be around me anymore. And I thought, oh, they're leaving me. But soon after, all these wonderful, nurturing, compassionate, caring friends, which came into my life, bosses, everybody. And I go, oh my God, this is what it is. This is a program. This is a matrix. And this is the part I wanted to also share with your viewers and listeners. I had no concept what a loving, passionate, nurturing friendship is or relationships, or I didn't even know what that is. Okay, so even though you don't know what that is or never experienced in your life, you can have it. Because I
Hmm.
didn't either, and I got it. So then I thought, well, I can. So I helped many people in their relationships to draw wonderful relationships that they kept drawing. Like 99% of my clients are women. And some of them want to just get better relationships because they keep drawing these neurotic, as they tell me, controlling, manipulative, gaslighting, all those words kind of people in their life. So when I work on them, those people don't want to be around them anymore, those
Hmm.
negative people. And then they start drawing wonderful, in this case, men, or whatever relationship into their lives, like the they wanted.
Yeah.
But they were like, I don't even know what that's like, Deepak. But they're coming in my life now. I said, you're doing great. Hang with me. There's more better ones on the way. But have fun, date, do whatever you want. But I have more clearing to do for you. And then as I clear more and more stuff, then they drew even much better people than even that, which they couldn't even comprehend. So that's why I was telling everyone that when you clear these programs, which are sort of like matrix programs that you didn't know you had, which came from your ancestry, as I talked about, parents, grandparents, and
Mhm.
ancestors, then you live a life that you're charting a whole new course instead of repeating the one of the past.
Right, right. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I appreciate that what you shared about, struggling with being bullied and then, just assuming that that's how things go. And so you will continue to attract that sort of people and that sort of dynamic in your life. And like, what a huge, like the universe works in such beautiful ways, like for you reading in the library about the law of attraction and that, and then to like find yourself in that room with that expert on the biofeedback. And for you, to have the confidence to go up to him and introduce yourself. And when you hadn't done the clearing yet, was that a scary moment for you to go up
Oh
to him?
yeah, very scary because
Yeah.
I was very, very low self-esteem, low self-worth, no confidence, all of that. Yeah, so it was absolutely.
Well, that you did that. Yeah. And now look at that. And you just by clearing out that the sorts of people that were bringing you down and that low vibration and just now you created space to have all these wonderful loving relationships and all the success and people that see you for the wonderful human that you are and what you have to offer. And so that's just like that's a beautiful success story and an inspiration to show like that real transformation can happen for anybody at any
Yes.
stage or point in their lives. So
Absolutely. That's the key message I want to share. I experienced that. Anyone can experience that as well. And you don't have to keep living the same life you weren't dealt a sucker deal. Like you might have had that growing up, but you can go on a whole new charted course and create a whole new pathway that no one in your past ever had.
yes, yes. And that's something that comes up a lot with the people that I work with or talk to is that it's too late for me. I'm too old to make a change. I've already, like I'm, whatever, 40, 50, 60 years old. I can't change paths right now. Do you
Yes.
encounter that with the
Oh
people that
yeah,
you work
all
with?
the time. That is and I said majority of my clients are women. So of course, some are men.
Hmm.
Majority of women, and that's the most common thing they say. But I help people even 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s who help get new relationships because their whole
Hmm.
life they drew the same kind of condescending relationships over and over again. And even at any age, they can get what they need. They can get the relationship they deserve actually. Yeah.
That they deserve. Yeah. So as I was reading some of the testimonials of past clients that you've worked with, I have to say that I was really impressed with the breadth of the type of thing that you are able to help them with. I was expecting to see a lot of information about people overcoming anxiety and depression, which of course you do, and you do beautifully. But I saw some really surprising sorts of changes in people's lives that I'm like, wow, who would have thought that that could happen? Do you have, or can you share any of the unexpected sorts of benefits or transformations that maybe our listeners might be surprised that they could benefit from your type of therapy?
Absolutely. I have like two cases I can just share offhand. Like one lady was an author and she was just starting to get well known, and she had a nice fan base. And she had like two kids probably in their mid to just slightly past their mid 20s, and they were living with her. But the challenge for her is she also had challenges with her family relationships with her mother and her other people. And it was causing a lot of bitterness in the household, along with her own kids who were not helping her out at all, were being mean and controlling to her, as she said. And so though she was an author, she was not happy with all that going on. So I worked with her and I cleared those familiar family issues that she had with her different family members, but she also wanted to clear the issues with her own kids. So I told her how the parents imprint their information to the children as they're growing up from age 0 to 13. Now these kids were, they're mid to late 20s, but she said, they really are really mean and horrible to me. I said, well, I will work on releasing all of that upset that they created on you, so you'll at least have that burden released from you. She said, but I'll definitely work on you with that. So I did. And then she said, okay, I feel a lot better now and more peaceful, even though they're treating me like that. But something that your viewers and listeners might find interesting is that after I did that, something very unusual happened. For example, the son came up to her soon after I started doing these sessions and clearing her and said, Mom, I've been acting really mean to you. I know a lot of people love you as an author, but you've asked me to do things around the house, clean the garage, rake the yard, all these different things. And I was resisting. I wasn't doing it. I was just being bratty. I wasn't cleaning my room. I wasn't doing anything. I was kind of acting like a jerk. I know I was. I'm so sorry. I'm so grateful to have a mom like you. I mean, not everyone does. Will you, can you forgive me for acting like such a jerk, Mom? I'm really sorry. And he gave her kind of like a sort of bear hug. And she was like, is this my son?
Who are
Or is
you?
somebody disguised as him? She couldn't believe it. And so then he left the scene, just like this act one, scene one. And then the daughter, not knowing the son said any of this, walks in maybe a half hour later and says, Mom, you know what? I'm so lucky to have a mom like you. Many people have a mean mom or don't have a mom at all. And you are the most loving mom. And I'm taking you for granted. And I want to model you. And you're my role model. I'm so sorry I acted so mean towards you. Can you forever forgive me for acting like that? What? She's like, I can't believe it. And I know the imprinting, it goes from 0 to 13. So if I'm working on any mom and she happens to have kids, I'm working on some moms like that right now, the children will immediately shift according to how the mom does. That's the cool thing about it.
That is
And
so cool.
but what I found is even if they're way past that age, in this case, apparently it's working too. And I even worked on people who had kids in their 40s and 50 kids in their 40s, 50s or older, and they even shifted to a certain extent as well. They were treating the mother kind of in a nice, not mean, I mean in a mean way, and they kind of softened up and kind of lightened up and totally backed off from how they were acting. So I was like, wow, it keeps going, I guess. I thought your listeners and viewers would find that interesting.
And that must be so cool for you as the practitioner to see the ripple effect happening, maybe even beyond what you could have even known or predicted, just how powerful that is. That must be so incredible.
It was so amazingly incredible. Absolutely. Like another story, I worked on a businessman, a different kind of situation. He was kind of slow in his business and he felt stagnant. So he wanted to go to another level. And he was stuck in a glass ceiling of where he wanted to go financially. So I could hear in his voice where the limiting belief was, and he didn't even know he wouldn't know that, but I could hear it. So I released it. And soon after that, his salary, the amount of money that came in almost 1.5 times to double from what he was making before. And he was very happy. But what was interesting is that he got a call from somebody he had a huge fallout with, which ended badly in a raw business deal 10 years earlier. But the guy called him and said, you know what? I'm calling you because I feel so badly about 10 years ago. It was a long time ago that we had this raw falling out with this business deal. And I'm really sorry for what happened. But I was just wondering, can we just start over, renegotiate that deal we originally were doing, and let's reconnect if that's okay with you? He was like, sure. So it was a pretty lucrative deal that would have not come out for sure otherwise. So that was pretty cool. But then he told me another thing. He said, Deepak, my sister and I used to be so close when we were growing up as kids. We used to tell each other everything. But we just 6 months ago had a huge, very terrible falling out. And she has not talked to me or written to me or texted to me or communicated in any way for 6 months. And I'm really sad about that. Could you help me with that? So I said, well, I'll help you with the emotional upset you're having about her, your sister, having that fight with her and not talking to you. I'll definitely help you with that. I'll release all that burden that you're holding. That part I can do. I don't know about anything else, but I can do that. So I released that, and he goes, oh, I feel so peaceful and relieved. Even though she's not talking to me, I can go forward. But what happened is, interestingly enough, 1 hour after the session, he gets a text from his sister who said she'll never communicate with him ever again, saying, you know what, I was just thinking, I know I said I would never talk to you again, but we were so close as kids. Why should we let this thing break us apart? We're family. We should always stay as family. Can we reconnect?
That's incredible. And how fast that worked too, that it was an hour later.
Yeah. He still
What?
talks about it to this day. I think that was over 10 years ago. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. We're working with the quantum world. It works in ways we don't understand.
Mhm.
I said, I'll release your burden. I can definitely do that. And it totally did. But soon after that, it opened up the quantum field because in his connection to his sister, there was this emotional block, emotional energy. So once that was taken out, then the communication was restored, is what I feel happened.
So I know, at least maybe you've come across people like this too, and I know I have, that there are skeptics out there when we start talking about things that you can't see or measure with traditional ways and the quantum field and all of that. So in order for your type of therapy and techniques to be effective, do you have to believe in what we cannot see, or can even skeptics benefit from the work that you do?
Well, definitely. I myself didn't believe that her kids would act nicer with her. I was just simply trying to release her burden of them treating her not poorly. And I didn't imagine that this sister of this businessman would ever communicate with him again. I just wanted to release any guilt, any regret or upset for that whole thing falling out. That's all. And I did. I got peace in his life. But I didn't expect all that other stuff to happen. Absolutely. I know. So even I was not believing it. And do I have skeptics? All the time. And I think you're asking me if you're skeptical about this whole process working, will it work? Well, I will address it from the point of view, those other things are like very fascinating things that happen. But I will just work on, look, I know you're feeling upset, regret, sadness, guilt, shame, anger, rage of some injustice or something that happened in your life. I will help you relieve that. All I ask is that you participate with me in the process. I will guide you what to do. Put your hand here, close your eyes, listen to the music, think about the situation, things like that. Very straightforward. As long as you do that with me and you're present with me, this will work. If you're thinking about, after the session, I'm going to walk on the beach, I'm going to do something else, you're not focused here. And I can only work on the synaptic connection where the emotional charge is. That's where all the charge is. If you're talking about walking on the beach, there's no charge at all. But
Mhm.
when you're talking about the upset, then the meter goes to the right. As long as you're focusing on that, which I guide you to, it will work every time.
That's incredible. Wow. So for anybody listening right now that is as intrigued as I am by all of this, please, Deepak, talk to us about how can listeners find you? How can they contact you? What does that look like?
Absolutely. So for anyone interested, offer a complimentary 15-minute consult. No obligations, just a talk with me. You can freestyle talk with me about what's going on in your life, the challenges you're facing, what's upsetting you in your life, what you'd like to see happen in your life. And I will kind of work with each person individually to customize a specific plan for you to take you from where you are to where you want to go. And then I will structure out how we do our sessions. So there's no obligations to that. To do that, you just go to my website, which is www.fastanxietyhelp.com. And I will spell that FASTANXIETYHELP help.com. So www.fastanxietyhelp.com. You can go there, you can read about my work. You can highly encourage you to go click on the testimonials tab so you can see how so many people benefited. You might be able to connect to some of those people. And then most importantly, you can click on the schedule to sign up for a complimentary, no obligations consult with me, 15 minutes. And I will also do something else for all of your viewers and listeners, because for anyone who's watching this show or hearing this podcast, just mention that you heard about me on Laura's show, and I will give you a $100 gift certificate towards your 3 foundational sessions with me.
Deepak, that is so generous of you. Thank you so much. And I strongly encourage anybody listening right now that is even remotely intrigued or curious about this and if it could be helpful to them to book that 15-minute consult with Deepak. You really have nothing to lose. And you're so easy to talk to and so personable. So I'm sure that anybody would be just so lucky to be able to have that conversation with you. So, Deepak, I want to give you the final statement. Anything that you maybe would like to share with the listeners that is either a final message of encouragement or inspiration, or anything that I maybe didn't think to ask you about that you wanted to share?
I guess I was going to kind of summarize my main key message is that regardless of where you are in your life, what you feel you've accomplished or what you feel like you haven't accomplished yet, any regrets, frustration, or upsets of where you are and where you want to be, you can have everything you ever dreamed of and then some. Once you get your own self out of your own way, basically. And the thing is, we all have limiting beliefs, and there's patterns from our subconscious that are holding us back. So once we can release and clear those, then you can have the liberated life you ever always dreamed of. You can literally transform your life in a way that you never imagined. So all hope is not lost. You can just know and have hope and confidence and happiness for and joy that regardless of where you're at or where you're at this point in time, you can have everything you desired. The happiness, joy, bliss, everything you ever desired.
That is such a beautiful message. Deepak Chari, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It has been such an honor meeting you and sharing space with you today. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.